Welcome, everyone. Uh, I don't know if you feel it too, but there's something a little bit different about MicroStrategy world this year. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I think it was actually earlier in February last year. Jokes aside, in this moment, we're all participating in what amounts to the largest natural experiment in human work ever conducted. Social scientists like natural experiments because they allow them to take a complex environment of the real world and simulate the type of lab-controlled experiments done by biologists and physicists. It allows them to measure causal effects and outcomes of interventions. Now, in our business context, it allows us to ask questions like, what if I took my entire workforce and told them to work from their basements and their laundry rooms or at their coffee tables for the next 12 months? Could our business survive? How would we do it? How fast could we make that change? The answers to these questions, I think it's safe to say, have surprised just about everyone. It even surprised, as we'll see, the leadership of most companies. If you've been to some of the other sessions at MicroStrategy in the MicroStrategy Cloud Track, you've probably heard it said that the pandemic has dramatically increased the rate of technological adoption that companies are doing. McKinsey surveyed executives about the speed of changes their businesses are making in response to COVID. The good news, or the bad news, if you think that executives should have a clear understanding of what their companies are capable of, is that businesses have been much, much more agile than had previously been thought. In the middle of the chart, you can see increased cloud migration. It's happening 23 times faster than executives thought it could happen prior to the pandemic. But that's not even close to the biggest surprise. At the top of the list, we see remote work and collaboration. Executives thought on average, it would take 15 months to pivot their companies to a remote-first model. And in reality, when push came to shove and the entire company had to do it at once, it took just 10.5 days on average, 43 times faster than executives expected. Clearly, there was a massive amount of complexity and expense that we thought would be required to enable remote working, but that time and expense just weren't there when we had to do it. The cost and the time side was poorly estimated, poorly understood. And as we'll see, I think the benefits have surprised many people as well. This has been an entirely new experience for people and has required everyone to learn and adapt quickly. Like any change in business, this presents challenges and opportunities. And today, we'd like to share our own experiences of how we're navigating the remote-first world, tell you about how we're helping our customers succeed in it, and offer our own perspective on how to be effective working remotely, with the hope that it helps you be more effective working with your consultants or service providers. Now, I can already hear it. Some of you are saying, Derek, this has been an interesting experience and all. I got to spend a lot of time with my pets and with my kids, but vaccines are now being produced and things are largely going to return to the way they were. But I don't think we're going back. And according to the data, neither do most of you. In a recent Gartner survey of HR executives, some 82% reported that they intend to allow employees to work remotely some of the time, even after the pandemic resides. Of those, 50% said they will allow employees to work remotely all of the time. Now, depending upon what assumptions you make about those two numbers, how many people take advantage of these new policies, and how many days a week they stay out, the implication is there will be in the range of 20 to 70% reduction in in-office time. Now, as a consultant, I'm used to traveling to be on site with our customers, to immerse myself in their organization and their businesses. Rich communication and immersion help us learn our businesses and tech environment. But it's becoming abundantly clear there's simply going to be less of an office to immerse ourselves in. So we're going to have to figure out how to use new ways of working that support the information exchange in the absence of those warm body face-to-face meetings. Customers will have to adapt too. You're unlikely to be in the office with as much regularity, so that time is going to come at a premium and be harder to coordinate. On a logistical level, there will simply be fewer calendar slots available for in-person meetings and collaborations with consultants and services providers. So you too will need to master new approaches that replace meetings and working sessions with effective remote collaboration and communication. The transition hasn't been and won't be cost-free. And remote first doesn't work for every project, every business, industry, or person. But as research about our collective natural experiment is now showing, remote first ways of working provide on the whole substantial benefits. And this has come as a surprise to many. Prior to now, there's been a trickle of studies and anecdotes about the efficacy of remote working, mostly from some smaller tech firms and from academic research. They found some gains in productivity, particularly for those employees who said they preferred remote work, but the studies and the companies themselves were pretty small in scale. And we also had some high-profile cases of conflicting data when companies like IBM and Yahoo, which had tried remote work and decided it wasn't working, called everyone back into the office. And this has nothing about the manager's position, most of whom have been avowedly skeptical of remote working. But now that we've been running this experiment for 11 months at full scale, at least in Europe and North America, the results are come in and point to many different aggregate benefits. Across a battery of metrics, the data show two big things. First, that most workers are more productive when working from home. Specific estimates vary, but on average, studies are showing business-wide productivity gains in the low double digits, which amounts to about a month's worth of additional work being done in a typical work year. Second, most workers are self-reporting that they prefer to work remotely going forward. In a PwC survey result, 72% reported that they want to continue working remotely some or all of the time in the future. Confirming these two data points, HR consulting and services firm Mercer interviewed thousands of HR executives and asked them if they were going to continue to allow remote work when they were work and why they were going to do so. The top answer, reported by 77% of respondents, was that they were doing so for reasons of engagement and productivity. Apart from the broader organizational benefits of remote work, there are some specific things that make remotely delivered services and consulting unique. Now, not to bury the lead, but the benefits of remote work or remote delivery, as we typically call it in consulting or professional services, had started to be seen at least 20 years ago when international delivery and follow-the-sun approaches began to emerge as industry standards. And since we're a technology company and most of us who are watching this are technology professionals, we've been at the tip of the spear in adopting and exploring the value of the technologies that are ultimately enabling remote work. The value of remote services is, in fact, pretty similar to the value that you get when moving your technology assets to the clouds. So much so that the CEO of one of the world's largest services companies describes it now as a talent cloud. Let's look at some benefits of remote services delivery. For cloud and for talent cloud, the benefits accrue into three categories. One, quality. How does remote delivery support quality? Like any services organization, our business model can be thought of as a type of demand bundling. We do a few things and we do them really well, and we partner with our customers to provide services when they need those specific domains of expertise. Remote work allows us to hire and deliver with the best talent in each one of those domains, no matter where anyone is located in the world. An additional quality factor is that working in a cloud environment allows us to create a standard MicroStrategy configuration at the highest standards. It allows the best people to consistently deliver on the best version of our platform. Being in the cloud also means we can easily keep the platform updated to our latest, most feature-rich versions. And because our consultants train each quarter on each release, they're always ready to take advantage of the latest features. Two, agility. Being remote services, working on your cloud assets, makes it simpler to stop and start work. Access is easier, administration is faster, with the result being that we can onboard a consultant or even a consulting team to your project faster than ever before. It enables us to work in smaller, flexible increments, which we sometimes refer to as elastic services. Scalability. That agility also enables greater scalability, both from the technology and from the services that help you get value out of it. And as the largest MicroStrategy consulting workforce in the world, we can deliver your largest projects on short notice from anywhere. As I mentioned earlier, remote work isn't as new to consulting and services companies, and Sabina is going to talk about how we've evolved to effectively help our customers solve problems and realize opportunities with remote services.
Thank you, Derek. Let's all agree. Remote workers weren't born overnight when the pandemic hit and forced all of us, or most of us, to stay at home and work from home. For MicroStrategy, remote delivery has been common for at least 14 years, so our consultants are absolutely ready for this, more than most workers. I wonder how many of you were working in the year 2000? I wasn't, Yes, but I'm sure we all heard of this digital and communication stone age with phones plugged to the walls, in-person meetings, faxes, and obviously no remote access to customer environment. Well, people only started using personal computers and were connecting their homes to the World Wide Web. The two events that would later pave the way for the remote work to thrive. By 2006, we got direct access to customer via email and online chat. Global Delivery Center was established in Warsaw, Poland, which promoted remote delivery worldwide. 2010, era of FedEx laptops and nearly unusable virtual environments. The video conference software, Link, later renamed Skype, slowly started helping us maintaining genuine face-to-face connections with employees and customers, even if working remotely. 2015, the times of VPNs, WebEx, but also Slack, which created a way for teammates and managers to communicate from basically anywhere. Being the fastest growing business application in history, in 2016, Slack grew from 0 in 2013 to 4 million daily users worldwide. And finally, 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic creates a remote work tipping point, with now most of our engagements turning to offsite. By this point, we have 14 years of experience in delivering offshore services with the leading role of Global Delivery Center in Poland. We have proved and tested mechanisms of setting connectivity and communication model, as well as structured and today project delivery. Along with the changes of technical aspects of remote work, we've observed the evolution of the nature of delivered consulting work. So starting from support and development roles through architect and technical advisor to comprehensive project management roles like program manager or engagement manager. But let's look at the delivery model that was already fully operational before March 2020. MicroStrategy has over 500 consultants. They are located in two main delivery centers, in HQ Virginia, the US, or in Warsaw, Poland, or in multiple consulting offices all around the globe. This means we are available in your time zone for an on-site or a remote delivery all around the clock. We are proud to have 100% English-speaking consultants, but we also speak other languages like German, French, Spanish, Italian, or even Japanese or Chinese. All consultants are MicroStrategy certified developers and engineers. As Derek mentioned before, they are trained on every MicroStrategy release. And they are continuously raising their skills through corporate and team events, through internal workshops, external trainings, or certifications. They have versatile competencies and capabilities, as well as deep technical specialization gained through cross-departmental rotations. Our consulting organization has decades of MicroStrategy experience, delivering over 12,000 engagements across various industries. We delivered 3,000 projects for financial services and insurance, supporting companies like Barclays or Deutsche Bank. We delivered over 2,250 engagements for companies like Tesco or Whole Foods from the retail sector, and over 1,200 projects for technology industry, supporting companies like Netflix or Facebook. There is a huge variety of different consulting projects we deliver for our customers, but we can define 4 main engagement models. Advisory describes a group of projects when our most experienced experts are engaged to periodically assess and refocus your BI efforts to strategically align with the priorities of your organization. Our goal is to maximize your return on investment by incorporating the best industry standards. We can improve your team's productivity and efficiency by defining BI roadmap and implementing BI best practices. We also help to reduce or eliminate downtimes and interruption of services by troubleshooting the most critical problems and get back on track with a viable solution. In project-based approach, we engage a team to comprehensively manage and deliver BI solution for our customers. We cover the full stack of required competencies and personas, to successfully manage project lifecycle. We can accomplish that by providing project management capabilities. We take care of scoping, discovery, planning. We own solution design, development, implementation, and testing. In managed services engagements, our team of multidisciplinary administrators supports your BI platform and assists your IT team either on an ongoing or elastic basis. We make sure that the platform and systems operate flawlessly without any interruptions, which ensures better SLA compliance. In staff augmentation engagements, our consultant operates as an integral part of your team to deliver analytics solution. Customers have the flexibility of leveraging our team of experts in planning, design, development, and management of their projects. So we know how it looked like before the COVID times, but what exactly changed in March 2020? Magda, would you be willing to share your experience with us?
Thank you, Sabina. Of course. So you're definitely right. March last year was one of a kind. Actually, I think the whole year, 2020, was one of a kind. MicroStrategy Professional Services Organization, just like any other consulting organization, started the year with hundreds of planned engagements. Some of them were at customer side, some of them were offsite, and we had some huge projects that were actually delivered blended, offsite and onsite. We had actually planned the engagements for the whole year. Our consultants were traveling the world, supporting our customers, were solving issues. Some of them were in Europe, some of them were in South Africa. We had consultants in US and US consultants traveling to Asia. In fact, on the 4th of March, I was on the plane traveling to Germany. Too bad I didn't take photos. That was actually my last flight trip for the year 2020. So what happened between February and March 2020? It seems like over the night we woke up in a totally different world. And I myself, I call it the remote world. So let's take a few steps back. So in March 2020, new disease was spreading the world and people were getting more and more concerned. We have been reported with COVID cases at customer site. Customers were moving their office to offsite, and then countries were closing border. Imagine this, European borders were closed for the European Union citizens. And then we all had a national level of quarantine. During that time, myself and my colleagues started receiving calls from our customers with one sentence. We need to move to remote work. How can we do this? What is the time frame? How can we prepare to this and how can we manage our projects? How can we meet the deadlines? And most important, how can we interact with our team? Those were a lot of questions. But with our 15 years of experience of remote work, we could provide our customers with answers and support them in this transition period. At the beginning, we assumed that this is going to be only a temporary situation. But with the time, we understood we're going to stick in this remote way of working for a bit longer. In the March 2020, we have moved 90% of our projects to fully remote work. We have rescheduled our engagements from on-site to off-site, and we have supported our customers within the transition from working at the offices into remote work and managing the projects that are being delivered from different locations. Of course, there were some hiccups. We have been waiting for weeks for credential to our Vienna customer to finish work that we started before the COVID. And 1 week before the final presentation, we actually decided to go through all of our messaging tools that are possible, video conference tools, to check what can we do? What can we do without having access to the environment? What we discovered is that we can use Skype for Business and share a screen, and that's it. So we have decided to build up the dossier in MicroStrategy world, make a package, deliver it to the customer, and then in a 16 hours of shared screen session, we actually fine-tuned the dossier with the customer clicking on his screen. We finished up the dossier. It was presented in front of the board, and the project was a success. I would like to say that transition to remote work was smooth, thanks to our 15 years of remote work experience. But that would be a lie. We had some hiccups, we had some issues with accesses, but we learned from this, and we could extend our best practices. For many of you as project managers, those tips and best practices are well known. But in the next slide, I would like to present to you what we have found out during the remote world. Let's start from the most important lessons learned. Well, you get to stop assuming. You get to stop assuming that all of the processes in your organization are going to work exactly the same like before the COVID. Your IT team might have delays with providing you accesses. Even the post might have delays in providing equipment to your team. And like internet might have issues as well, like we did in Europe. In the first 2 months of COVID, one of the biggest internet providers in Europe did have some serious network fall downs. So stop assuming, and instead of that, make a checklist. Why do I insist on having checklists? It's just for you a list of all the necessary things that you need to start the engagement, like accesses, like equipment. In the checklist, you know what you need to follow, and you can write down what time is needed and adjust the project timing for it. Other thing we recommend you to do is to have a kickoff meeting prior to the engagement start. The best would be at least a week before. Why is it? It's because you need to check if the accesses are working. You're supposed to have at least a one try point for the whole team to see if everything is working smoothly. Other thing is that it gives you as well the opportunity to have the first session with the team, set the priorities, make them be aware of the project and of the expectation. But as well, it gives you the possibility to create a communication plan. We are working remotely. We are not sitting in one office. Therefore, it's nice to give checkpoints to the team on, for example, when do we want to have status updates? When is the team daily call? Do we have team daily call at all? Those are very important in order to have a regular and effective remote work. Additional to this, you have to create a communication matrix. And right now you might ask yourself a question like what it is. The reason for it is we have multiple tools to communicate while we are working remotely. We have emails, we have videos, we have conference calls, we have chats, we even have our telephones. So we need to know which medium to use when we want to discuss particular issue. For example, if you have an urgent issue, very complicated, that you would like to discuss it with your project leader, how would your team like to handle it? Would you like your team to handle it via email, or would you prefer to have a video call? So having communication matrix, it's going to make easier on choosing the right medium to discuss particular issues in your team. Have at least one team call a day and keep it short. Why is that? So we work in different continents, we work in different countries, in different time zones, sometimes in the same city, but in different location. Having one team call a day will give you the possibility to discover obstacles up front and to find out of the box solution. And most important, it keeps your team together. We also highly recommend you to have video calls. Why? We are social people. People are social. We like to see each other. We like to know that behind the computer there is a human being. And having someone on the video, you know how they react, and you're keeping the team together. One of the most important findings from MicroStrategy during the COVID, I wouldn't like to say that we discovered the video, but this is one of our most important findings, is that you can make videos up front. And those videos might be used for example, onboarding. You have a new employee, he comes to work, and you have this onboarding process. And you can give him video in order to make himself familiar on how to access projects or how to use your Rayleigh or your Jira account. Also, we use videos for documentation right now. So imagine this, you have a end user documentation, and it used to be 20 pages that you're giving to the end user, and before he's downloading the application, he needs to read this. Is it fun? I don't think so. So for some of our customers, we are already delivering this video recordings with the application, and our consultants is explaining how to use the application, what are the main points, and how to navigate in the application. Simple. Organize social events. I know we used to go out for beers, and it's impossible right now. But having social events in team is very important to not feel disconnected and to awake, this feeling of being a team and working together on a project. It might be 15 minutes on just chatting, how is it going? Or having a Zoom meeting and just discussing what are your plans after the COVID is going to go to an end. Other thing what I recommend you is have coffee break with your team. And right now we're going back to the world before the COVID, when we used to be in offices and you were going to the kitchen to grab some coffee, and there you meet your teammate and you have this important issue that you need to discuss with him. And the very productive 5 minutes of time when you were grabbing a coffee, you have a solution. Not all of the meetings need to last 30 minutes. Sometimes 5 minutes calls is more than important. And for me personally, as a very communicative person, a very social person, most important is to stay in touch with your team. Remember that not all of us are feeling good in this remote type of world. Some of us are suffering lack of social events or lack of social contacts. It's very important to check how your team is doing. Do they have issues? How they're dealing with, balancing kids, work, dog. It's important to know just how they're feeling, if they're feeling good, and maybe with some small adjustment, they can feel even better working. So let me tell you a story about our senior principal consultant. As you know, our principal consultant are the most experienced consultant we have, and they usually work to multiple customers. So this particular person was starting the COVID with 4 customers work, with 4 multiple customers, with 4 different computers, and he was also supporting our internal project. So at one day, we had our wrap up of our internal work. He commented to me like, you know what? This day was crazy. I had to do work for my 4 customers, and next to it, I needed to deliver something from MicroStrategy. And I put all of my computers on the desk, and the laptop of MicroStrategy, I needed to put it underneath because I didn't have enough space. And we ended up saying like, hey, maybe it's time for you to invest in a new desk. And in this whole craziness of the situation, it helped us just to get through it. All of this is why we say communication is a key. Recent studies show that staying permanent in touch might be a problem. Most of you have been there, I know. This 8 hours long workday filled out with meetings where you don't have time to grab a coffee or visit the restrooms, and not talking about answering emails. Harvard Business School working paper on remote teams states that 1 hour of decrease in shared working hours leads to 10.2% less calls and chats. And opposite to 1 hour of increase of shared working hours, that leads to 18% of more unscheduled calls. Those are interested studies. But where do they lead us? Have you heard about two types of communication, asynchronous and synchronous? The first one is where you're unable to interact with each other. Means you're not able to do this talking at the same time. It's what we use mostly emails for, or sometimes we chat when someone isn't available. And the second one is a type of communication where we use interaction with. So videos, meetings, when we are both exchanging messages at the same time. In order to save time and wisely plan your team calendar, you need to be able to intentionally use both of them. Does it really make sense to create meetings for every single issue? Wouldn't it be better to send a well-described email? In fact, companies like GitLab or Basecamp that extensively use remote working have publicly stated that mastering asynchronous communication is a key to working remotely. So remember that the next time you're going to plan a meeting. One more final tip for those of you who have to deal with complex project or with escalation while working remotely. I'm pretty sure most of you know this. There is this approach of fishbowl or war room. A war room is usually a single room within a business headquarters that contains whiteboards, computers, and everything that helps people work on the project. And you can actually use this approach as well remotely, which we actually did for one of our OEM customers in the US. We started the project just before the March 2020. It was a complex, very intensive project with a challenging deadline, with a lot of data contactors customization, with large data volumes, and it needed support of the multi-tenant security. And our customer valued face-to-face culture, so we actually started the project on-site with all of the consultants being planned to collaborate at the customer site. And then COVID happened. And in about a week of time, we needed to transition offsite and deliver the project working remotely. So after having chat with the customer, we decided to approach the war room using Zoom. So our consultants and the customer, we meet every day in a Zoom room. We had our PowerPoints open, we had our whiteboards open, and we were capable to discuss every single matter, every single issues online. If we needed a breakout or we needed a short chat with one of the teammates, we were just going to breakout rooms and discussing it and then going back to the room. Thanks to this approach, our customer in a matter of 3 months' time was capable to provide MicroStrategy powered product. Thank you very much. I hope our insights were a good refresher of what I assume you already knew, and it provided you with some structure. We will be very happy to start remote engagement with you, so please contact your sales account team or your professional services director.